Nearly 90 years after her disappearance over the Pacific Ocean, Amelia Earhart remains a name that sparks global fascination. As the first female pilot to fly solo across the Atlantic, she not only broke technical boundaries but also changed the way women were perceived in aviation history. Her 1937 round-the-world flight severed all communications, and from that moment, one of the greatest mysteries of the century began. In 2024, a sonar discovery shook every existing theory. The truth is now closer than ever.
It wasn't exactly engine trouble. It was the exhaust only, the exhaust manifold. I should say I was 3 hours out.
Amelia Mary Earhart was born on July 24, 1897 in Atchison, Kansas. Raised in a middle-class family with a lawyer father and a mother who valued liberal education, Amelia displayed independence and a love for adventure early on. She climbed trees, hunted rats with an air rifle, built a homemade roller coaster to mimic a glider, and routinely rejected the gender norms imposed on girls at the turn of the 20th century. Although she first saw an airplane at the 1908 Iowa State Fair, she wasn't impressed. It wasn't until 1918, while volunteering as a nurse in Toronto and watching pilots perform overhead, that the idea of freedom truly connected with aviation in her mind. In 1920, after a 10-minute trial flight with pilot Frank Hawks, Amelia Earhart decided to pursue a career in aviation. She took on multiple jobs to pay for flying lessons: telephone operator, secretary, part-time mechanic. She trained under pioneering female pilot Netta Snook, bought her first airplane, a Kinner Airster, and named it the Canary. Through persistent effort, Amelia earned her pilot's license in 1923, becoming one of the few women to achieve this at the time. Her international fame arrived in 1928 when she was invited as an honorary passenger on a transatlantic flight piloted by Wilmer Stultz. Though she did not fly the plane, the press dubbed her Lady Lindy, a female counterpart to Charles Lindbergh. In 1932, Amelia completed her own historic solo flight across the Atlantic, from Newfoundland to Ireland. She became the first woman to fly solo across the ocean, shattered gender barriers in aviation, and received the Distinguished Flying Cross from President Herbert Hoover, one of the highest honors awarded by the U.S. Congress for aviation achievements. Pushing further, in 1935, she became the first person to fly solo from Hawaii to California, a 3,800-kilometer journey never before completed. That same year, she also established new routes from Los Angeles to Mexico City and from Mexico City to Newark. With her skill, courage, and influence, Amelia Earhart was considered the most powerful woman in global aviation by the mid-1930s. Amelia also co-founded the 99s, an organization exclusively for female pilots. Established in 1929, it provided technical support, financial aid, and community for young women aviators, and still exists today, with over 5,000 members worldwide. At Purdue University, she served as a career advisor for female students, a role never before created at a technical institution. She advocated for investment in aviation education for women, and Purdue later funded most of the costs for the Lockheed Electra aircraft used in her 1937 world flight. In her personal life, Amelia married George P. Putnam, a prominent publisher and media manager, in 1931. Their relationship was not only a marriage, but a strategic partnership to shape her public image. Amelia once wrote a letter to Putnam before their wedding, stating that she refused to be bound by the role of a traditional wife and insisted on keeping her financial, professional, and personal independence. She was also a close friend of First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt. The two once took a night flight together on a commercial aircraft to discuss the role of women in modern society. With her short hair, leather flight jacket, aviator goggles, and deep, assertive voice, Amelia Earhart was more than a pilot. She was a global cultural icon of trailblazing spirit and feminism. It was precisely because she refused to stop at what she had already achieved that Amelia chose to take one more step into an unprecedented journey of historic significance. The mysterious disappearance flight. In 1937, at the height of her fame, Amelia Earhart announced plans for a round-the-world flight along the equator, a journey covering approximately 29,000 miles, the longest route ever attempted at the time. The aircraft used was a Lockheed Model 10E Electra, largely funded by Purdue University. Accompanying her was Fred Noonan, a veteran navigator who had worked for Pan American Airways. They planned to fly eastward, a strategy rarely chosen due to unfavorable weather and wind patterns, but one that aligned with the technical feasibility and media goals of the mission. The initial attempt began in March 1937 but had to be halted after the aircraft skidded off the runway in Hawaii, causing serious damage. After repairs, Earhart and Noonan departed again on June 1, 1937 from Miami. They crossed South America, Africa, India, Southeast Asia, and arrived in Lae, a port city in Papua New Guinea. By that point, they had completed approximately 22,000 miles. The final leg from Lae to Howland Island was considered the most dangerous, as the tiny island spans less than 2.5 kilometers and lacks distinctive topographical features visible from the air. On the morning of July 2, 1937, the aircraft took off from Lae at 10 a.m. SI local time. The U.S. Coast Guard cutter USS Itasca was stationed near Howland Island to assist with navigation and refueling. For several hours, radio transmissions between the aircraft and Itasca were erratic. Earhart repeatedly reported altitude, heading, and requested bearing fixes, but the signals were very weak and unclear. The last recorded transmission came at 8:43 a.m. "We are on the line, 157-337. We are running north and south." After that, complete silence followed. The U.S. Navy immediately launched the largest search ever conducted in the Pacific at that time. The aircraft carrier USS Lexington, along with numerous destroyers and reconnaissance planes, scoured the waters surrounding Howland Island for more than 2 weeks. The total search area exceeded 250,000 square miles. The estimated cost at the time was over $4 million, equivalent to nearly $80 million today. Nevertheless, all efforts yielded nothing. Not a single piece of wreckage was found. The U.S. government later declared that Earhart and Noonan had disappeared while on duty. On January 5, 1939, Amelia Earhart was legally declared dead by court order. But what puzzled the public was not the conclusion, it was the void of information. A global aviation icon, supported by a professional team, advanced technology, and a well-planned media strategy, could simply vanish on a flight lasting less than 3 hours. From that point forward, the search for Amelia Earhart was no longer just a technical mission. It became a journey driven by imagination, science, and cultural obsession. And because of that, the world could not let go. What seemed to have ended in 1937 was, in fact, only the beginning of a series of questions that would stretch into the 21st century. From here, theories began to diverge, and some scenarios started to draw more attention than others, especially as physical artifacts began to surface on remote islands, hundreds of nautical miles from the official flight path. Theories that spanned decades. The first theory, acknowledged by the U.S. Navy as early as 1937, was the crash and sink scenario. According to this, the Lockheed 10E Electra ran out of fuel and crashed into the Pacific Ocean when Earhart failed to locate Howland Island. This theory was supported by weak radio signals and a loss of contact that coincided with the estimated fuel range. Even so, after over 250,000 square miles were meticulously searched, not a single piece of wreckage or trace was found. Lacking physical evidence, this widely accepted theory has never been conclusively confirmed. A later theory came from the International Group for Historic Aircraft Recovery, which believed that Earhart changed course and made an emergency landing on the coral atoll of Nikumaroro, about 350 nautical miles southeast of Howland Island. Since the early 1990s, TIGAR has conducted numerous expeditions and claimed to have discovered artifacts such as fragments of plexiglass, a metal structure allegedly consistent with the Lockheed Electra, antique tools, and notably, several bone fragments. In 1940, a skeleton was once found on Nikumaroro, but was misidentified at the time and later lost. Although modern DNA analysis has not produced definitive results, the Nikumaroro hypothesis continues to attract interest from historians and media alike, especially given that no other theory has presented more concrete evidence. Another theory, by far the most controversial, suggests that Earhart was captured by the Japanese military. Several independent researchers, particularly during the 1980s to 2000s, speculated that she flew off course to the north and landed in the Marshall Islands, which were under Japanese control at the time. A photograph that circulated in 2017 appeared to show two individuals, allegedly Earhart and Noonan, on a dock, being escorted by someone in a Japanese uniform. This photo was later confirmed to have been taken years before the disappearance. No military records or documentation from Japan ever supported this scenario. Most aviation and historical experts dismiss this possibility due to the absence of independently verified evidence. One perspective suggests that Earhart was on a reconnaissance mission for the U.S. government, and that the round-the-world flight was merely a cover for a military operation. From this angle, her disappearance was not an accident, but the result of a compromised secret mission. Still, no declassified documents from the Central Intelligence Agency or the Pentagon have ever indicated that Earhart was involved in any intelligence activity. Another idea proposes that Earhart survived and assumed a new identity as a woman named Irene Craigmile Bolam. Amateur investigators pointed to similarities in appearance and even used image analysis to support the theory. Bolam publicly denied the claim and filed lawsuits against those involved, forcing publishers to withdraw the book. Forensic experts also rejected the theory outright. From the scientific and archaeological community, various organizations have launched search efforts on different scales. Between 2002 and 2017, the Nauticos Group and the Waite Institute conducted multiple sonar surveys off the coast of Howland Island, scanning thousands of square miles but failing to detect any signs of the aircraft. In 2010, TIGAR resumed expeditions to Nikumaroro, presenting new fragments potentially linked to the plane, although every piece of evidence faced scrutiny over its origin and authenticity. By 2023, no single theory had emerged as scientifically superior. Every investigative direction encountered major obstacles regarding data, documentation, and independent verification. That, in itself, is why interest never faded. And just when public confidence seemed to have run dry, an American ocean exploration company announced a sonar discovery that once again shook the world: the ocean floor search. In 2023, nearly 86 years after Amelia Earhart vanished, a new signal unexpectedly emerged from the depths of the Pacific Ocean. It didn't come from radar or satellite imagery this time. It was a sonar image, released by an ocean exploration company called Deep Sea Vision, based in Charleston, South Carolina. Led by Tony Romeo, a former U.S. Air Force intelligence officer and also a private pilot, the research team launched a large-scale mission to survey the waters south of Howland Island, where Earhart last made contact on the morning of July 2, 1937. With private funding and a declared goal of finding the final truth, Deep Sea Vision deployed a Hogan 6000 autonomous underwater vehicle, manufactured by Kongsberg Discovery, one of the world's most advanced deep-sea drones, capable of operating at depths up to 6,000 meters. Over 11 months of surveying from late 2023 to mid-2024, the team scanned more than 5,200 square miles of seafloor, focusing on coordinates believed to be near the aircraft's final position, about 100 miles from Howland Island. In early January 2024, Deep Sea Vision released a sonar image that sent shockwaves through the media. The image showed an object lying at a depth of 4,877 meters, with a shape strikingly similar to an airplane featuring a main fuselage, wings, and a tilted tail section. International outlets like CNN, NPR, BBC, and CBS quickly reported on the discovery, providing preliminary analyses that this could be the closest clue to the location of Amelia Earhart's Lockheed 10E Electra. Many independent experts noted that the object's geometric proportions closely matched those of Earhart's aircraft. In an interview with Popular Mechanics on February 1, 2024, Tony Romeo stated, "We always believed that if Earhart lost control or ran out of fuel, she would try to glide down for a soft landing." The sonar image suggests that may have happened. Within a short time, hope surged not only within aviation circles, but also among the global maritime archaeology community and the general public, who had followed the mystery for generations. Even so, experts remained cautious. Nauticos, a group that had led previous major search operations, warned that natural geological formations on the Pacific seabed could easily mimic aircraft shapes. TIGAR also analyzed sonar reflection ratios, suggesting the object might be a naturally symmetrical rock formation. As debates intensified, Deep Sea Vision announced it would pursue further verification by analyzing deeper sonar layers and constructing a 3D simulation of the object's structure. After nearly a year of analysis, on November 1, 2024, Deep Sea Vision officially confirmed the target identified in the sonar image is not Amelia Earhart's Electra 10E. It is a natural rock formation. The statement was posted on the company's website and social media accounts and shared with news organizations that had previously covered the story. On Instagram, the team wrote, "After 11 months of waiting, we are forced to conclude this is not the answer, but this is not the end." Although disappointing, the announcement did not lessen public interest. In fact, the use of high-precision deep sonar technology, combined with AI integration and satellite data, has set a new standard for future search efforts. Deep Sea Vision announced plans to expand its survey scope in 2025 and to share its sonar database with independent researchers and aviation museums. While the answer remains elusive, Deep Sea Vision's endeavor has reignited the longest-running search in aviation history. And even if the object turned out to be only a rock, it still marked a critical step forward because it reaffirmed that the search continues, and the world has never let go of the symbol named Amelia, a journey written into history. Since her disappearance in 1937, Amelia Earhart has not merely been the subject of an unresolved mystery. She has become a global symbol of pioneering spirit, courage, and the desire to transcend limits. The organization she co-founded, the 99s, remains active today with over 5,000 members in more than 40 countries. It is one of the world's largest communities of female pilots, offering scholarships, technical support, and annual professional conferences. In a profession long dominated by men throughout the 20th century, the legacy Amelia left through this organization continues to influence pilot training, aviation policy, and the building of a worldwide female pilot network. Amelia Earhart's name has been given to numerous public infrastructures across the United States. The Amelia Earhart International Airport in Atchison, Kansas, her hometown, various public schools, streets, and libraries nationwide also bear her name. The Smithsonian Institution included her in its list of the 100 most influential American women of the 20th century. Her image and ideals have appeared on postage stamps, in official textbooks, and are displayed at the U.S. National Air and Space Museum. On screen, she has been portrayed in multiple feature films and documentaries. Amelia, 2009, with Hilary Swank in the title role, was the first major film to recreate her career and disappearance. Beyond that, Earhart has appeared in pop culture works like Night at the Museum 2 and in numerous documentary episodes from National Geographic, History Channel, PBS, and the BBC. Her leather flight jacket, cropped hair, deep voice, and determined gaze have become instantly recognizable even to generations born decades after her time. Academia, too, has taken part. Over 200 dissertations, research books, and university-level studies have been published in the United States, Canada, and Europe, analyzing the social and cultural legacy she left behind. Since 2000, universities such as Harvard, Stanford, and Oxford have included her story in programs covering gender studies, media, and popular culture. Amelia Earhart is no longer mentioned solely as a pilot, but as a historical phenomenon whose influence extends beyond aviation. Today, as aviation enters an era of automation and gender equality in technology, and aerospace remains incomplete, her name is still invoked as an unspoken reminder, not only in American history, but also in the global narrative that women have the right to dream, to act, and to fail with no less honor. Nearly a century has passed, and the question of Amelia Earhart still has no definitive answer. But one thing is certain: the world has never stopped searching not just for the aircraft, but for the meaning she left behind. Which theory do you believe? Do you think this search should continue? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to follow more stories that history hasn't finished telling. A symbol never disappears. It just keeps flying at a different altitude.